Ladies and gentlemen, one more stop here in East Liverpool before I go back across the state line to my home state of Pennsylvania. Frank Dawson and I, in the best way I know how to really salute all of those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and those who have served their country during Memorial Day, is to pay a tribute to this place. As you can see, very significant, this part of Riverview Cemetery along St. Clair Avenue. It is all of those who have served, and many of them who have given their life. And Frank Dawson from Dawson Funeral Home is going to explain some of the significance, and then I'm going to talk about some of my brothers that are here that have meant a whole lot to me as far as teaching me the true meaning of patriotism. There is a lot of history here, Frank.
Absolutely. Going back to the chapel, which is on the hill here, which was built by the Sons of the American Revolution. There is one American Revolutionary War veteran in this cemetery, only one. His name was Hill, and I can show you his grave. These graves are all bear the upright marble monument which every veteran is entitled to. These are all single veterans. There are no spouses, strictly single veteran burials. They're buried what we call European style. In other words, each time another veteran dies, once this section, they're next in the row. And some of the ones that you know are here. They date back, of course, to the Civil War. The battles of the Civil War are posted on the chapel above Appomattox and so on. You can see them from here, and it's just a real tribute. And when we have a funeral here, it's just all hands in to do it properly with respect and acknowledging the great sacrifice that so many veterans made for this country.
You know, everybody that works hard has a sanctuary, and for many years, this has been a sanctuary for me. I have walked it, I have run, I have spent more time in this cemetery than you can imagine. And no matter how times were in my life, as well turbulent as they can be for many, I always found peace by just looking here and thinking about those who really made the ultimate sacrifice. So as we approach Memorial Day, I want to talk about the Vietnam era and friends of mine who are sadly no longer with us, who were a big part in my life in teaching me the true meaning of patriotism. When you think about Vietnam, or the Second Indochina War, or as they called it in Vietnam, Resistance War against America, Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, November 1955. America got involved 10 years later in 1965. The war actually ended in April of 1975. We as Americans left that part of the world, Southeast Asia, in 1973. When it was all said and done, over 58,000 men lost their lives and over 300,000 were wounded. Steve Haniotis was the first to return to East Liverpool in a flag-draped coffin, and there were many others. This man's amazing funeral home, I believe, the best at what they do, buried all of them. And just for a moment, friends of mine who made it back from the war but never forgot and told me many of those stories, well, over a pitcher of beer after a basketball or football game at the VFW Post 66. People like the late Danny Smith, also Gary Fletcher and George College. My friend Bob Burbick and I would listen to these stories and realize, but for the grace of God, how fortunate we were that we were not called upon. As I graduated from high school, the draft and the war had just come to an end. And yes, very fortunate, but also very fortunate to know others who served in Vietnam. My friend Jerry Stovall, who sat shoulder to shoulder with me for many years in that Potter press box. My friend, the late Ron Schufo, a Marine through and through. And I could go on and on and on. So just know I salute all of you and I thank you for your service, but more importantly for the lessons in life that you have taught me and how I understand now more than ever what it really means to be a patriot. Frank, any closing comments?
No, except just what you've said, and the first one, Steve Haniotis, who's right up here. I'll never forget because he was killed in 1961 in Vietnam, and we presented his flag to his father, the government, the military squad, and the father, who was born in Greece, but served came to America and became a citizen and served. He saluted smartly when the flag was presented to him. I've never seen a family do that, to salute back to the presenting officer, because he was grateful to be able to live in this nation, even though his son had made the ultimate sacrifice.
And speaking of that, just remember, Steve and others were just months removed from high school here at East Liverpool and found themselves in Southeast Asia. Many didn't return, but one who did. And I want to end on the note of Gary Fletcher. His brother Hank and Gary and I, all part of that original Pratt Pack back here in East Liverpool in the late 80s, throughout the 90s. Gary was the drum major in the East Liverpool Marching Band, and it wouldn't be long after that he was in the Army, and he found himself scouting the point. And at that time, life expectancy for someone in Vietnam, a foot soldier, doing that was 3 weeks. He did make it back, but believe me, it was something that we talked about on a regular basis for many years, and I call him, and I will always remember him as a dear, dear friend and a true hero in my heart. So long from Riverview Cemetery, and remember this Memorial Day to remember those who have made the ultimate sacrifice.